Hey guys, as you can see the reference, it's this older woman with some wrinkles, and that's what this demo is about, is painting her wrinkles. That's towards the latter half of the video, but you'll see how I started putting a tone down with a light tone, average light, average dark, and I try to keep those separate. You'll see me lose it a little bit, and I have to struggle to get it in this sped up part. But like I said, this is about the wrinkles, so watch this part. I pretty much just do what the photo has. Mix a few colors that maybe that aren't in the photo, lighten some things, darken some things, take some things away. But the part coming up with the wrinkles is happening soon, and hope you enjoy it. Okay, we have her face. She has no wrinkles, and I kept them off because this is the whole thing about the question about what do you do? What do you do? Just let me get this pupil in here. Okay, so her face is clean without wrinkles. So what do we do? How do we put these wrinkles in? Well, just so you know, just like the value scale, it's going light to dark. Those dark lines, like this one, goes that value, which is lighter, and it goes darker as it gets near here. Because if I use that same value for this little area here, it's gonna look too light. So the value has to be closer to the darks, right? And the same thing with this light. This light here isn't this light. I can't just go and do that. Sometimes you get lucky and it works because if you pull up on the brush, but I put a new value in color right there, and that made it look like it's a wrinkle. But let's do some of these. Okay, so we squint down. Only paint the ones you see when you squint. Okay, that's a big rule. So I'm gonna pick. I mix more into the mid-tone range or a little darker. That's the value of this palette. But you could see it doesn't stick out that strong. These lines, these wrinkles. Okay, stick a few in there. Now on this side we have a lot of light. I want to put a couple little lines to match those. I'm going to go even lighter. Why? Because if I go that dark against all that light, it's going to look too dark, right? So I'm better off just going a little bit lighter. And then I could sneak in some more darks. Boom. That's pretty much it. Now, we're still talking about wrinkles. Let's get the wrinkles here on her nose. Now you could see, you could see it's lighter right here in the reference. And it's actually cooler. Now because there's a lot of dark, I'm gonna go with this value. Now, do you see how that works? It works out for it because it's surrounded by dark, so I don't need to go lighter to make that look lighter, because if you, with your eyes open, it looks like a light area because it's surrounded by darks, but in reality it's darker than the light because it's surrounded by darks through contrast. It's like the little sky hose that you see in on trees. You'd never make them as dark, never make them as light as the sky. They always go a little darker because they're surrounded by so much dark. That's the rule for everything. All right, let me get a little brown here. So let's just put her lines in. So, okay, a lot of light. Watch this. I'm using a mid-tone. See, too light, too dark, too dark. Right? So I gotta go lighter than a mid-tone because it's, squint down, you can hardly see that stuff. So it's still darker than the light I have there, but not as dark as these areas. See that? Controlling my values and just putting a few in here. Just enough to say she has some age. Now, going back to the mid-tone, this area is darker than that for you to get them to stick out. Doing a little plain thing here. Okay, I don't need all of them. I don't need all of them. By the way, going to her hair, oops, sorry. Going to her hair, gonna soften this edge. I'm mixing a value that goes with it. Softening that edge. See, that edge is too hard. Edge, a little light coming in here. Notice her ear gets a little bit cooler, and then there's a lot of warmth here. And we'll do the eardrum. Still not done with the wrinkles though. Here, this is the part underneath her chin. Do you see how I blend it this way? The firm edge is here, and then I blend it away that way. You know, you're gonna probably overdo that, but you'll learn that you don't do that everywhere. This is. Then I could bring this dark down right here. This is just like a wrinkle, but it's bigger, so you got to control your values even more. So that's my dark, and I won't go really dark. Now I'm putting a halftone next to it, softly, because it's rolling. And I'm making the mistake of getting too wide, then I can go back in there. Okay, and then soften this up. You don't want this too dark. You can see that the reference has a lot of dark to it. Don't do that. Keep it soft. So then let's look at this side of the neck. Oh, I'm gonna do one thing. I'm gonna go with a darker, cool color. This is a little bit of reflected light coming in right there. Do you see how close those values are? I changed the chroma more than anything. Kept the value the same. And that it looks different. It just looks a little lighter. This still has to get lighter. Putting a little yellow ochre on it. Now I'm going to do a value that's in between these. See that? It might not be exactly like the reference, but it's still working because the values are right. And let's see. Now, I want a light for this rim of this ear. Touch it. That's pretty good. Notice I started here, but went here because I could tell I'm in the dark area. I got to go darker. And this gets a little cooler. I don't want a lot of details in the ear. This is a face painting, not an ear painting. Okay. Now you can see the bell of the ear. I went a little bit too cold, so we'll get some of this. We'll make this a little. Cool. And we'll get this. All right, so let's do some more of these wrinkles here. Watch, see, I'm going darker. I'm in a darker area. And when I squint down, do you see a real separation? No, not much. So it just went a little darker, or as dark as this shadow value, just so you could see into the shadows a little bit. This is a good. Now you notice it's flesh against flesh, those wrinkles, warmth. Those darks are usually warm. It's like blood against blood. And then I'm going to throw some light here. This has to get more light. Now, do you see these wrinkles that are here? I do like this one. I'm going to go a little lighter red, not too strong. Oh, that's too light. There we go, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go with a dark bluish yellow ochre, kind of like a warm, cool. Oh, and I'm add this warm back. We're starting to get that form turning. This is a little bit crazy. Now you notice with the reference, I'm kind of sticking to the colors that are there. This is too close. You see how things are getting softer and softer, softer and softer. Now you might be saying, oh, I just saw you grab white. Why are you using pure white? It's not pure white because look, see how it's not pure white? Because this brush is dirty. It's mixing in with what's there. But let's do these wrinkles here, right? I mean, you know, you don't want to make her look too wrinkled, but you want her to look her age. I mean, she's beautiful, so let's get some of these lines in here. Keep your edges soft. Let's get this light here. Keep your edges soft. Just doing some little cleanups here. Saying, why aren't you taking care of what you were saying? It's just this is bothering me. Okay, so we're going to go a little lighter on the top of the forehead here because the light's hitting this way. But here's where the highlight. This plane is receiving more direct light. And then we're going to throw some highlights here. Now, I've been throwing darks, but I can throw highlights in, highlights in there to bring out some of the wrinkles. Now, if you're doing a portrait commission, you don't want to put in a ton of, nope, too light. You don't want to put in a bunch of lines. You know, but sometimes people get insulted if you clean it up too much. So you gotta, it's a fine area, what do you do? I've had portrait commissions where people, you know, the women were older and they just looked at the painting and they just wanted to make sure I didn't put in all those wrinkles, which is fine. You know, don't put in my jowls. Don't put my nose in too big. See, like this one right here, that's way too dark. Let's make it simpler. Things are turning. My oil paint's kind of, something's wrong with it. And I think I had some medium spilled on this palette and it wasn't dry yet and it's kind of affecting it. It's giving me a feel I'm not used to. But let's get some of these wrinkles here around the mouth, okay? So remember, we're in a light area, so you don't want to go too dark. This light area, maybe get something a little lighter than a midtone. See, that's starting to look like she has a faux trim there. So let's go a little lighter this way. Now we go a little bit darker because we're around the darks. Nope, that would be too dark. I'm doing my burnout of warmth off the flesh. I like that. Now look at her earrings. Parts of these earrings are dark, and I'm not doing the exact color, but then it gets lighter, and then you might even have a highlight. This earring's all in dark, so you got to start out dark, and some of it's even darker in here. This area, I want to go a little lower. We'll put some of this stuff like that, and that pushes it back into the light, into the dark. It's not that important. It plays its role. This right here is a little funky. And I actually think, now, we're going to throw in a few darks. Now you may ask, some of these lighter, little ones here, and then you may ask, well, you threw in these little darks, what about some lights? Then some of these folds will pick up lights. These little creases, they'll pick up some light too. These little wrinkles. They'll pick up some light. This one a little bit more. It's nice. And she's smiling. Now this is a little bit, see, I made this, I went lighter, but it's still too dark because it makes it look like her brow's too heavy. So we aged her. We put the folds in, the wrinkles. We just didn't get too overboard. You're not going to do every one of them, and you want to squint. It's just like folds on a pair of pants. You want to squint. You want to squint and paint what you see when you squint. Less is more, right? You want to see less. You want to paint less. Even her hair has to get a certain value. And I didn't do her hair that well. She does kind of have a ponytail right there. And I'm going to pull this over here. All right, and take a look. Yeah, I could keep going on and on and on with this painting, but I think these wrinkles show us enough that you're not going to put dark lines in. You're going to adjust the line, compare it. You're going to squint and compare. You're going to adjust that mixture to what's around it. If you're going into the darks and you're going to get darker, mix a little bit darker. Try that. Or if you see a light in those darks, like here, don't go that light because you're around all the darks. But in this area, you don't want to go too dark because you're in the darker areas. And we can make we could go over this next week. Soft edges, soft edges. Keep it soft. Okay, so I hope you guys get that. Uploaded the reference. You know, I mean, play with her hair and her. You know, she's got these little hairs. Put some of those in. When you're doing paintings that are exercises, you know, experiment. You might not do too well. You could even hit the back of your brush. A little bit here. But you can see, even I didn't push like, hey, very expressive. I didn't use any of the tools really. It still has a certain feel to it. And I always give hair more body, even if it doesn't look that way, because you don't want the person to look like they have a flat head. You can see how that color is really bouncing around in there. Let's get something a little crazier. Let's see if this does it. No. Let's do this. Does this work? Now we're changing things a little bit. Does this type of application apply to this woman? So using the roller, does it do anything for her? Okay. I think it does, but maybe not there. So how do you take advantage of that? You can either scrape it down or really get a nice mixture. Pull some of this hair out. Boom. And then that bit on her forehead, you can get rid of some of it. Now we're getting more expressionistic. This is the fun part. So this is the close shoulder. It may have more of the light, and it does on the reference. Get a little more paint. Cheap white. I could really change her hair. Give it some character. I mean, if she's that's a personality thing. If the person's boring, yeah, you'd probably do a boring portrait of them, but their kids and the grandkids are gonna look at that and say, I don't want that in the house. The daughter-in-law says, I don't want that painting in the house. Keep it. It's not let's put it in the attic. Do something fun, even if the person's boring. It sounds crazy, but you know, that's the difference between someone saying, I don't want that painting around here. Let's you might say, well, you got rid of some of the wrinkles, which is fine because there's plenty there. But I do think, and you're right, I do think. See how I was able to bring that value down with my finger? And I want to it's a little bit darker. Where's my ultramarine blue? There we go. Some nice Vasari ultramarine blue. A little weak for me, but I like it as just a pure color like that. Ooh, see, I like that step right there. Beautiful by itself. Now you can see her face starting to pop a little bit more. Am I looking at the reference? This background's giving more life. And I'm stepping back. Look at this. Oh, it's not too bad. I'm doing is just making something a little lighter. And we're going to do a drip right here. Maybe she was a fun person. Maybe she was an activist. She has that look. I was an activist. One of those, you know, those people that like to smoke them funny cigarettes. Actually, what am I could get away with saying, yeah, some people like to smoke marijuana, and it's legal here in Arizona, so I could say it. I don't know about Pennsylvania. So we go. That blue right there really zings. And we don't have her gold necklace, but do we need it? Probably not. Put a little bit more. Too much. There we go. And see, I love when that ultramarine blue from Masari does that. Oh, it's so beautiful. It does it very well. This is unfinished. I kind of like that. I could actually add a little bit more shoulder right there. Right? And one little thing. I was thinking, do I want to put some drips of red down? No, because then it kind of looks bloody. But I am putting touches of red here and there just to move that warmth. It's pretty cool. There we go. And see how I deviate from that reference. Have fun. If you do a commission, get that likeness. Did I get a likeness of her? I wasn't really trying, but if I did, I would just have fun with the hair. Yeah, if it's a commission, they might say, well, no, that's not what we wanted. But if, you know, sometimes you got to tell them boring, more exciting. What's closer to the person's personality, right? A little bit of the jowl right there. I think that's pretty good. This is fun, guys. Can't wait for the last class. This one I'll make. I apologize to everybody. And see how I put my finger and it made it softer and lighter. Killed some of the value. But we'll go from there. All right? Thanks, guys.